Hello, everyone out there on Facebook. Ooh, it's very bright because I'm having to block my headlamp for you. We are out here at the beach. It's incredibly cold and incredibly windy, but there's a great low tide and we've got some really cool things to show you. So let me flip this around here just a second and I can show you some of the cool creatures that we're finding here tonight. Low tide is in about an hour, but it's so low that already we can start to see some really interesting creatures. Now, if you want to post in the comments where you're watching from, we love to know that information. And here, right. All right, we're back. Apologies everyone for that service interruption. It turns out my Wi-Fi was on. I was trying to connect to somebody. So we're back. Okay. Here we are, enjoying this beautiful moon snail. Hello to all of you who are joining us from TikTok. I just did a quick broadcast over there and told all of my awesome people hanging out with us to head over so they could see this moon snail. So glad that you're all here. Oh, good. I'm glad to know that the quality is better on Facebook. We have the ability to save our Facebook broadcasts too. So if we see something really amazing tonight, you can share it and show your friends, and that's really fun. But yeah, feel free to post in the comments where you're watching from. We're out here at the Purdy Sandspit in Gig Harbor, Washington. And we've got one of my favorite animals, this large, huge snail called the moon snail. This is Lewis's moon snail, or Neverita lewisii is their scientific name. And I don't know why they named it Neverita, because they're definitely edible. You need to prepare them certain ways, and they're not a species that you can legally take. They're an important species, important predator here in the intertidal zone. They eat clams primarily, and we'll find some clams. Oh, look, here's a tiny one. Oh, there's a fish. Time out for the fish. Hello, fishy. I think you're a perch, but you're trapped now because the tide has gone lower and you're just in this little puddle. And I'm very erratically filming you. I apologize. It's much more beautiful than the camera is going to show up. But there's plenty of water here. The fish will be just fine until the tide comes back. But back to our moon snail here. Moon snails are clam predators, and right here, oh, there's just the tiniest little crab and the tiniest little clam that's been eaten by a baby moon snail. This is a world in miniature right now. Even, can you see those tiny snails? There's the tiny clam, and then there's this itty bitty crab. So cute. Why do humans love things that are tiny? I do not know, but I'm here for it. You could say moon snails are always mooning you, but they get their name moon snail because of their round white shell, like a full moon. And if you've ever wondered what it feels like to touch a moon snail, it feels like touching raw chicken if your raw chicken could move and was ticklish. So if I gently touch this animal, just give it a little pet, you see it can wiggle and it's like, ooh, hey, who's touching me out there? Probably weird for it to be touched like this in the middle of the night on a low tide, but here we are. We advocate that people touch animals with the same the same care that they would use to touch their own eyelid. So when your eyes are closed, if you were to pet it with your finger, if you're gentle, it won't hurt you. If you are rough, if you poke it or push it or pry it or pick it or pull it, it's gonna hurt. Here's another moon snail. Look, we're finally in the tidal height that we can see these animals pretty regularly. They're here after the clams, and there are plenty of them, although they are very hard to show off at night because they're under the surface and I just can't aim and you can't really see the squirts from their siphons. Plenty of these animals are active right now. They're squirting the water out, getting fresh oxygenated water as they go down. Some of them will squirt when I walk near them. They feel the pressure of me walking. Oh, look, there's one right there. So this is a horse clam. Let's see if I can move that so you can see. All right, there we go. So this is the siphon of a horse clam, also called a fat gaper clam. You can see it's got two kind of holes that are fringed with these little tentacles. One pulls water in and one squirts water out. And he's gonna go down and hide from us. You don't want to be famous? All right. I did bring my black light tonight, so let me turn off my headlamp here. I have a black light on my headlamp. How cool is that? But I also brought the really big, the really powerful one. Both of these courtesy of my husband. Thank you, dear, for realizing I need cool technology to teach about the beach. But this eelgrass just is bright red, which is super cool to see. All right, let's go back though to normal light so I can see what I'm doing. I have to be really careful where I'm walking out here so that I don't smush any creatures. And the way that I walk is based on like 20 years of experience of knowing where I can safely step. Here's a really great animal. This is a Plumose anemone. This one doesn't usually glow. Yeah, it doesn't glow. Doesn't usually glow in the black light, but other anemone species do. This one is one of the world's tallest anemones. They get about 3 feet long. There's another one here that's got its tentacles still underwater, so still is rather feathery, which is how they get their name, Plumose, like a ostrich feather plume is what they remind me of. It is so cold out here. I'm hoping all of you are nice and warm at home and not out freezing your tail off like I am. But you know, the tides, I can't control the tides, unfortunately. So low tide is at night during the winter. We've got a really low tide, -3.5 feet, in about an hour. I cannot guarantee that I will be live for an hour. It's very, very cold out here. All right, pardon me for 1 second. I need to put my glove back on. I think I'm done touching things for a while. Do the balancing act of putting the flashlight in the pocket and then digging out the glove. And then gotta use the fingers or the teeth to get my fingers in those gloves. All right, so let's move down the beach a little bit. Ooh, the tide is considerably low. Wow, it's really out there. Now, here's a moon snail shell that's unoccupied. There was a moon snail in it, but it's no longer. It's a beautiful shell. You can see a little bit. Okay, here we go. I gotta take my glove off again. Figures. We can see the front edge of the shell. See how it's broken right here? That is a survived attack from a red rock crab. And the snail lived another, so this is 1 year's growth from here to here. Lived another year just fine and then had a fatal attack. And I can tell that it's broken by a red rock crab and not like a seagull because it's broken just on that front edge. A gull would pick it up and drop it. And once they get about that size, fist size or so, it's really difficult for the birds to lift them up. All right, so let's actually cross the beach. There's a really soggy section I'm trying to avoid because I don't have my rain boots on. I'm trying to stay warm. I've got snow boots on. And those snow boots have gotten a workout this week with got about 8 inches of snow at my house. I love it. I've been out in the snow every day, sledding, playing with my kids, taking pictures. It was really kind of fun yesterday at noon, I happened to be outside and the sun was out, which doesn't usually happen too often in December. Most of our Decembers are pretty wet and overcast. But the sun was shining and it gave me this cool opportunity to teach about the tilt of the earth and what the solstice means and why we have seasons. And it's just really cool. We measured my shadow, and I'm 5'2", pretty short. And my shadow was 12 feet 1 inches long at noon, which was the highest point of the day that the sun was going to. Oh, there's a heron. There's a heron and several birds over there. Can you see they're glowing in the light of my flashlight? It's probably too zoomed in to really notice, but the heron is out in the water. They have that big, long neck. And then all along the shore, there are smaller, low little, probably killdeer would be my guess. Hard to say. But some sort of little shorebird moving around. I saw some killdeer, or rather I heard them earlier, so that's my guess as to what oh, there's another heron coming in. They're both flying away now. Interesting. The birds are out even at night. I would not have thought that they would forage at low tide, but you know, what do I know? All right, let's walk. I'm having to walk really carefully through this mud, trying not to squish anybody. There's a lot of buried creatures this time of year. Animals just trying to stay warm during the low tide. So here we've got, what? Are you a crab? Oh, you are a crab. Hi. I thought you were maybe a molt. You're just missing an arm. This is a red rock crab. And this one is all right because it has no left. Pincher. It's my dad joke for the day. A couple weeks ago we were out here and there were thousands and thousands of red rock crabs. Ooh! I thought, is this herring eggs? No, it's just foam. Man, I got all excited. See all the bubbles? There's just like this patch of bubbles. I thought perhaps it could have been herring spawn. They don't really spawn this time of year, but you know, anything's possible. It's probably just from the waves. Stirred up a little bit of sea foam and it just happened to catch here on this eelgrass. I get surprised by a lot of things. My brain, I think, works a lot like a bird's brain. It just sort of picks out what's different in the environment, like what stands out, what's weird. It's just, I think it's why I'm so good at finding moon snails. Here's another one. My brain just goes, hey, that mound doesn't look like the other mounds. It must be a snail. Love to see these. Ooh, sorry. They're just such cool animals. Oh, here's a shrimp that has eggs. Let's see if I can bend down and show you. So that little shrimp right there is a female. And if she turns to the side, on the back half of her body, we'll see her swimmerettes, which is kind of these little modified legs at the back. And she's holding on to eggs. So we wouldn't call her pregnant. We would say that she's gravid. Because pregnancy involves like an umbilical cord. But this time of year, most of these female shrimp are going to be gravid. So you can see here's another one. You can actually see her eggs right through her carapace. These shrimp are a really important part of the food web. They're going to feed lots and lots and lots of little growing fish, especially things like salmon and sculpin and lingcod and cabezons and flounder. Tons and tons of fish all rely on those little shrimp as a food source. What are you guys hoping we find tonight? Usually I'm hoping for moon snails, and I've already found about 8 of those. So that's good. Success. yeah, post in the comments what you think we might see. Oh, here was the other thing I was hoping we would see. A sea star. This is a mottled sea star. And at this location, we tend to have blue ones. But they can be lots of different colors. Oh, look at it. It's such a beautiful animal. And this one's just a juvenile. They get about 2 feet across when they're fully grown. Love to see these. Yes, Taylor, you wished for sea stars and then it just happened. Somebody wish for an octopus, please. That's what I would really love to see. We could see some nudibranchs. This isn't quite the habitat that they love to be in, just because it's pretty wave swept here. Here's a beautiful red rock crab. Oh man, see, I get excited and it's just a piece of bark. We saw those herons earlier, and I always kind of think of myself as like a heron. I'm stalking through the water, looking for cool things. Not to eat, of course, but that's what the heron's doing. But, you know, just patiently waiting, looking for whatever cool things I can find. And then, of course, we have the heron as a part of our Harbor Wild Watch logo. Oh, man, I almost just walked out there. Snow boots, Rachel. Snow boots. Don't step in puddles. Don't walk out in the water, or you will regret it. Aboard. Should we test out if I have my tetanus shot up to date? I do. But don't step on those snails. Bad. The sea stars don't glow under the black light. Sorry, I should have shown you that one. I had that one. Let's find another one and I can show you. They don't really. Or at least that species doesn't. We do have leather sea stars, and they do fluoresce a little bit. Let me get my black light out and I can show you on this red rock crab how that looks. So the red rock crabs glow this beautiful green. Isn't that so cool? Shell here. Oh, here's another piece of tree bark that has that fluorescing fungus on it. Kind of cool. All right, it's hard to walk with just the black light on, so I gotta be mindful of where I step. I would not be a very good steward of this environment if I'm just out here trampling everything that I'm trying to teach about. That would be bad. And that's part of why I am so bad at filming as I'm walking, because my eyeballs are looking for the next place to place my feet. So I am very cautious. Try not to intentionally cause harm here. Ah, here's a leather star. Ooh, this leather star is lost a limb. Now, luckily for leather stars, they can regrow them. Although I am wondering if this perhaps might be signs of sea star wasting disease. The sea star wasting disease has been active on the West Coast. It's affected 20-some species of sea stars since 2013, and we are always monitoring that. So I'm looking for lesions. So like this little area here looks not quite so healthy. Here we have a little bit of discoloration, but really this missing limb is a big one. I'm going to turn it over gently just to take a peek underneath and see. Oh, actually it looks pretty good. We can see a scale worm here, a symbiotic relationship that this animal has with this little worm. The worm gets protection of the sea star and the food that it eats, and it will defend the sea star if like another sea star predator comes along, usually like a sunflower star. Let me get out the black light and I can show you that these guys have kind of a beautiful fluorescing pattern. So pretty. But those lesions don't look too bad. So he may have, maybe in recovery from sea star wasting. It's really hard to know In fact, scientists are still studying it, trying to determine what is the causal agent at play. Is it a virus? Is it a bacteria? Is it something caused by climate change? Is it water temperature dependent? We're still really learning. There's another red rock crab. You can see the water's pretty murky and there's waves. We've got a windstorm predicted for tonight. So not only is it cold, it's cold and windy. So hopefully you're all nice and warm at home. The rest of the Harbor Wild Watch crew is out taking advantage of this really low tide. Oh, look, here's a pink star. All right, if you're a fan of SpongeBob, this is your Patrick Star here. This is the largest species of fibrate star in the world. They get really, really big. Oh, check out those tube feet. Look how beautiful those are. If you've ever wondered what it's like to touch the tube feet of a sea star, it's like touching spaghetti noodles. They have all these suction cups, and when the tide goes out and they're stranded like this, they can't really move too much. So they can move a little bit. They can wiggle and maybe turn their individual arms, but he's not going to be able to like get up and move across the beach very well. They need to be underwater for that, which is why we can have touch tanks, that is why we can have sea stars in our touch tanks, and we don't have to worry about putting a lid on them because they're not going to be able to crawl out of the water. Sea stars have really interesting adaptations that help them to survive. So you'll notice on this sea star that it doesn't have anything living on it. There are no barnacles, there's no algae, there's no encrusting organisms of any kind. It's really just the sea star, and that's because they have these little pedicelaria. They're little microscopic pinchers that hide in and among their gills. So you can see these gills here. See the kind of fluffy bits? When they're underwater, they're able to capture oxygen, and as long as they're wet, the sea star can breathe just fine. Which is why we don't really have to worry about putting this animal back. It's totally in its natural habitat here. Low tide is something that they are adapted to handle. So it's not like I have to feel like I need to rescue this one and toss it back in the waves. And this is a beautiful, healthy, pink, spiny, they're called spiny pink sea stars because they have these spines. Can you see here? Especially like in their armpits. They're really, really heavily spined, which is an adaptation against predation from things like gulls. Seagulls would love to eat this animal. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they'll just rip an arm off. The sea star can kind of like abort and leave an arm behind. And then they can regrow it, which is something vertebrates have a hard time doing, but it's quite common in the invertebrate world. There you have it, your Patrick Star. It's not quite bikini bottom down here, though. It'd be a lot more comfortable if it were bikini weather. It's about 35 degrees Fahrenheit. It's the first day above freezing we've had in about a week. It's been very cold here, and all the while these sea creatures have been hanging out. The low tides happen at night. Ooh, here's a big red rock crab burrowing down in the sand. They kind of work like little bulldozers to push themselves backwards and wedge down in and be protected. It also is probably a little bit warmer down if they can be down in the water versus up here at the surface where there's wind and it's cold. Here's another beautiful pink star. Love to see these. Oh, here's another mottled sea star. This guy's gotten a little bit twisted. But as soon as the water comes back, they can flip if they're, fully upside down. They can right themselves. They basically turn their limbs, a couple of them sideways, and kind of get some purchase, and then they can flip. Oh, there's the birds. Sorry, little birdies. They're out here foraging too, although I don't know how they can see. I have a headlamp, and it's not like there's a full moon or anything. bunch of little birdies. They startled me. All right, we wished for sea stars and we saw sea stars. We wished for moon snails and we saw moon snails. Red rock crabs. So good. So we do these low tide beach programs anytime we have, well, one, good weather. It's cold, but it's not raining out here. And we need a nice low tide. So though we have 2 low tides every single day here in the Pacific Northwest, they're not always in the negative. We need it to be what we call a spring tide, which is where the sun and the moon pull in the same direction and they're kind of on the same axis, and that brings the gravity of the earth and makes the tides a little bit more extreme. So those happen right around the full moon and the new moon. And so we, about every 2 weeks or so. And we really I like to do a low tide program when it's below about -2 feet or so. So the 0 foot tide is the average of all the low tides. And so tonight's low tide is -3.5, which is significantly low. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my bearings of where I am on the beach. Okay, I figured it out. Oh, there's a heron again. Distance there. Wondering why is there someone else at the beach right now? You guys probably can't see. That second car is gonna cross over it with its light right now. It's pretty far back. But they're out here foraging. They can take advantage of the low tides too. And the daytime low tides are like a +6, so not very impressive, not very low. And so they're out here, probably I would guess, foraging and using. Let's see if we can zoom in on it and you can just barely see it. Does it help you if I have my light on you? Am I hindering your ability? Are you like a deer in the headlights right now? I never would have thought I would see a heron at night. I wish the camera could show off as good as my eyes could see this animal. They're incredible birds. They're just, oh yeah, he's foraging. He's taking stabs at things in the water, looking for fish and crab and crustaceans. They're remarkable foragers, very efficient predators. So cool. So how do I figure out the tide thing is a great question. Because I feel like people don't understand tides very well at all. Even though they live here in the Pacific Northwest, they drive past the water all the time, they just don't really have a good handle on what the tides are doing. And it's my job. My whole life is set by the tides, so I get it. If I wasn't out here doing low tide programs and knowing what the tide's doing all the time, I would probably not understand it either. But I use an app, and there are several. I use one called Tide Track because it has a nice visual for what the tides are up to. Look at this heron. You can just see him walking along, doing his little birdie predator thing. I had my big flashlight and I left it in the car because I didn't want to have to juggle all the different lights. Herons are so funny when oh, here comes another one. You see that one? He's coming in for a landing. Hey, Heron. How are you? Oh, lovely. Did you guys see it poop? Oh, that is so funny. You know, nature, if it eats, it poops. Alright, well, I'm going to stick to the shore here. Heron's probably thinking, what in the world is going on here? Yeah, he took off again. Just came down, touched down to use the restroom. But yes, the answer is I use an app to track the tides, and that is super helpful because you can kind of visualize it. Usually it's published in the paper too, I think. Or you can buy, like a lot of our local stores just sell like a little tide chart. You can buy calendars that have them on there. I thought that was a golf ball for a second, but no, it's just a rock. Okay, so I do need a holster belt for all the flashlights. I actually often will wear my Carhartt overalls, and I stick my big flashlight, this thing. It's huge. This is my UV light. Like, it's gigantic. And the batteries are really heavy, but I stick it in like the hammer loop on my overalls. It feels so very scientific when I do that. Yeah, see, there's a golf ball. So it's not, it's not out of the way. I do sometimes feel like I am interrupting when I come across animals. Ooh, did you guys see that squirt? That was a clam. Probably a horse clam, judging by the height of it. Not going to the bathroom, although I guess it could be, but that's not the primary reason why they squirt. They do that to recharge their water and get fresh oxygen. See, here's more golf balls. Who's out here golfing at the beach? Stop it. It's just litter at this point. There's another one. I wish I had brought my trash bag. Another thing I left behind because it was so windy. Oh, there's that heron again. Hey, dude. Sorry. If you go behind me, you'll be fine. I won't interrupt you if you head that way. Okay, man, it's cold. I gotta put my glove back on. Hold on one second. I awkwardly use my teeth. Okay, whew. It is cold out here. I should probably wrap things up. It is. Oh, there's a big clam squirt. Let's go find a sand dollar, because that's a fun thing to show off. We saw moon snails. We saw the sea stars, red rock crabs. Let's go find a sand dollar. Lucky for me, I know right where they are, and they never move, so it makes it really easy. Okay, they do move a little bit. We just reposted some of our most viral videos on our TikTok page, and 2 of our sand dollar videos have more than 8 million views because a lot of people didn't realize that they were animals, which I think they were probably just not paying attention in their biology class, because that was definitely mentioned. But we're happy to be the voice of cool creature education. Thanks to all of you who followed us over here from the TikTok live stream. Hopefully you've become a follower. We post pretty cool content here as well. And we've been on Facebook a long time, so we have a lot of videos going back along more golf balls. Sheesh. All right, so the sand dollars like to be not quite so low in the intertidal zone. They're kind of midway creatures. Another golf ball. All right, if somebody wants to come out to the beach and do a beach cleanup tomorrow night when the tide is low, you can have all the golf balls. So, notice the sand is a bit drier than where we were. Oh, here's a horse clam. It doesn't look like much. But if I get closer, horse clam, we can touch it and it will. Oh, you're not gonna do it? There you go. It'll squirt. And it's gonna go way down that tube. And it'll just go down, grab some fresh water, and come right back up again. It's kind of the life of a clam at low tide. Alright, I'm trying to... Oh, got my flashlight. Hold on. Juggling too many things. Trying to figure out where I am on the beach so I can find some sand dollars. Apologies. This video is super erratic. Sorry. Happy New Year's, everybody. Anybody have any resolutions? I don't really do resolutions. I feel like you should be a good person all the time. Strive to better yourself. You don't have to wait for a special day. But maybe that's your thing. If you want to post your resolutions in the comments, I'll give you some of those. So, I kind of have to cross the beach a little bit. I can go up here. Across these little rivers that form without getting my boots too wet. Okay, so let's head up. Get a little closer to the road. Apologies for the road noise and the wind noise. It is pretty windy out here. Sorry about that. Again, I wish I could control the weather and the tides. That would be such a cool superpower. Probably screw things up for other people in the world if I'm just messing with the tides, though. Rachel wants another low tide today. Okay, well, I guess the tide's going out. Okay, so I'm already starting to see sand dollar skeletons, these tests. These are, okay, the glove comes off again. Hold on. So this is the sand dollar's skeleton. No one's home inside. There's the mouth opening. And then right down here you can see they go to the bathroom just like everything else. So they have a separate entrance for that, or exit for that, I should say. Unlike anemones, which share a common opening for both. So an anemone's mouth is its butt, but with sand dollars, they keep them separate, which is kind of cool. So here's one live one. I can show you the difference. Oh, actually, this guy's got some damage. Still technically alive, and being in a echinoderm, they can repair. So this guy or girl might stand a chance at surviving. But let's find some live ones. The dead ones tend to be on the surface more, and the living ones will be buried down in a little more. Here's another live one. Flip it and show you the underside. Ooh, this one's also got an injury. Who's out here poking holes in all the urchins? Or, excuse me, all the sand dollars. So you can see the little wiggling tentacles there. This one had an injury right here, and it repaired it. Same with right here. There's a little disruption in their skeleton. Ooh, here's a cool animal right here on this rock. Doesn't look like much, but that's a slipper snail. Kind of a cool creature. Alright. As we get higher, the beach changes. It's a little more steep in this portion of the beaches. Oh yeah, here's a lot more sand dollars. Just hanging out. Sitting down here at low tide. This one's really sparkly. I always say they're like the disco balls of the intertidal zone. Very, very cool creatures. Oh, here's the mark of the moon snail. This is a clam that was eaten by a moon snail. You can see that round hole there. It's where the moon snail drills a hole in to get them out. Okay, all right, friends. I am frozen. So I think that's a great time for me to wrap things up and go get warm. I couldn't even wear my Harbor Wild Watch coat because it's not big enough to go over all these layers. So I'm wearing my brother-in-law's ski jacket. It's quite warm, but I'm a popsicle, so I'm gonna wrap things up. I think I'll maybe pop over to TikTok for the walk back to my car. But thanks for tuning in with us. I hope you learned. I hope you had fun. I hope you got to see your favorite sea creatures, and that you are able to keep all your resolutions and be a better person in 2022. We will, of course, be bringing you more digital content this year, as well as resuming some of our in-person programs, and you can check that out on our Facebook page, on our events tab, or on our website, harborwildwatch.org. If you enjoyed this broadcast and you want to support the work that we do for environmental education, you can head to our website and make a donation. That's a tax-deductible donation if if you want to start off the year by giving more and supporting environmental education, we appreciate all the donations. But even more than that, we love the likes, the shares, the comments. The way that you engage with us on social media is really special and helpful for fulfilling our mission of inspiring stewardship. So I'm going to sign off. I'm going to go get warm. Thanks for hanging out with us. Happy New Year.